Captain Jake Morrison had been drinking his morning coffee when the alarms started screaming across the USS Horizon. The starship was in Earth's orbit doing routine patrol when something impossible appeared on their screens. A massive alien vessel materialized out of nowhere, its crystalline surface gleaming like a jewel against the black of space. Jake dropped his coffee mug and ran to the bridge. His crew was already at their stations, faces pale with shock. The alien ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of their vessel. It looked nothing like human technology, with its flowing curves and translucent walls that seemed to pulse with inner light. "Captain, they're not responding to any of our hails," said Lieutenant Kevin Park from the communications station. His voice was tight with nervous energy. "They appeared without any warning signals or distress calls. Our sensors didn't detect them approaching." Jake stared at the alien vessel through the main view screen. In all his years of space service, he had never seen anything like it. Humanity had been exploring space for decades, but had never encountered intelligent alien life. This was the moment everyone had wondered about, and it was happening on his watch. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Priority Alpha, we need to alert the United Earth Council immediately." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Earth Command went into emergency session. Military vessels from every nation began moving toward the alien ship's position. News networks around the world interrupted regular programming to report the historic first contact. Then the alien ship sent a single transmission. It wasn't directed at Earth Command or any government. It came straight to the USS Horizon, requesting permission to send a delegation aboard. The message was in perfect English, which sent another wave of shock through the crew. Jake found himself making a decision that would change everything. "Grant them permission," he told his crew, "but maintain full security protocols. We have no idea what we're dealing with." The alien shuttle was as beautiful as the mothership. It docked with the Horizon without any difficulty, as if the aliens understood human technology perfectly. Jake waited in the main docking bay with a full security team, not knowing what to expect. 3 beings emerged from the shuttle, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. They were humanoid, but clearly not human. Their skin was pale blue with a slight luminescent quality. They were tall and graceful, moving with fluid motions that seemed almost like dancing. Their eyes were silver and seemed to hold depths of knowledge that made Jake feel very young. Only one of them spoke. She was clearly the leader, wearing robes that seemed to shift color in the light. When she spoke, her voice was musical, but there was something cold and distant about it. "I am Zara of the Kalfani Empire," she announced. "We have been watching your species for a very long time. We have come to collect what is ours." Jake stepped forward, trying to maintain his composure. "Welcome aboard the USS Horizon. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. What do you mean by collect what is yours?" Zara's silver eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Your species has been under observation for 3,000 of your years. You have now reached the required level of development. We have come to claim our prize." "Prize?" Jake asked. "What prize?" "One human of our choosing will come with us," Zara said matter-of-factly. "This is not a request. It is a statement of fact. We will make our selection within 7 of your days." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. "You can't just take one of our people. We don't understand what you want or why you think you have any right to make such demands." Zara tilted her head slightly, as if considering his words. "Rights are earned, Captain Morrison. Your species has earned this honor through your actions. One among you has completed the final requirement. We will claim them." "What requirement?" Jake pressed. "What test?" "We don't know anything about any test." "That was the point," Zara replied. "A test known as a test failed. Your species has been evaluated on your natural behaviors, not on your ability to perform when watched." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "You've been watching us without our knowledge for 3,000 years. We have been gardeners, Captain. We plant seeds and watch them grow. Some species flourish. Others do not. Yours has shown promise. And if we refuse to give you this person? For the first time, Zara's expression changed slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but there was something almost pitying in her look. You cannot refuse what has already been earned. The choice was made long ago by the actions of your people. We are merely here to collect the result. The conversation continued for another hour, but Zara would not provide any more details. She would not explain what test humanity had supposedly passed or how they had been watching without being detected. She would not describe what would happen to the person they chose or why they wanted a human at all. Finally, Zara and her companions returned to their shuttle. 7 days, Captain Morrison, she said before departing. We will make our selection and claim our prize. There is nothing your species can do to prevent this. As the alien shuttle departed, Jake stood in the docking bay feeling as if the universe had just shifted around him. He had to contact Earth Command immediately and report what had happened. The world's leaders would need to prepare for something unprecedented within hours. Every major government on Earth was in emergency session. The United Nations called an immediate assembly. Religious leaders around the world tried to make sense of the revelation that humanity had been watched for millennia. Scientists scrambled to understand technology that could observe Earth without detection, but most terrifying of all was the simple fact that somewhere on Earth there was a person who had done something to catch the attention of beings who had been watching humanity for 3,000 years. Someone had completed a test they didn't know they were taking, and in 7 days the aliens would come to claim them. Jake returned to his quarters and stared out at the alien ship through his porthole. It hung in space like a beautiful, terrible promise. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence had not gone as anyone had imagined. Instead of offering friendship or demanding surrender, the aliens had simply stated their intention to take one human away. The question that haunted Jake as he tried to sleep was simple. Who had the aliens chosen, and what had they done to earn such attention? Dr. Amy Carter had not slept for 3 days. The moment news of the alien encounter reached Earth, she was pulled from her research lab at Harvard and flown to Washington, D.C. As Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien biology, she found herself in the impossible position of trying to understand beings that should not exist. The emergency command center buzzed with activity around the clock. Military officers, scientists, diplomats, and government officials worked frantically to make sense of the situation. The alien ship remained in orbit, silent and motionless. While the world below descended into chaos, Amy stared at the data streaming across her computer screens. The alien vessel showed no signs of weaponry, but its technology was clearly far beyond human understanding. The ship's energy readings were unlike anything in their databases. Whatever powered that vessel was beyond current human science. Dr. Carter, we need your assessment, called Colonel Ben Rodriguez from across the room. The military liaison had been assigned to coordinate Earth's response to the alien threat. His face showed the strain of 3 sleepless nights. I can only guess at their biology based on the brief footage from the horizon, Amy replied, rubbing her tired eyes. They appear humanoid, but with significant differences. The blue skin suggests different atmospheric conditions on their homeworld. The luminescent quality might indicate they evolved under different solar radiation. That's not what we need to know, Ben said firmly. We need to understand their capabilities. Can they take someone by force? Are they planning an invasion? Amy shook her head. Their behavior doesn't suggest aggression. They could have simply taken someone without warning us. The fact that they announced their intentions suggests they follow some kind of protocol or ethical system. Across the world, panic was spreading. News reports showed crowds gathering in major cities. Some people were fleeing to remote areas, hoping to avoid being selected. Others were demanding their governments take military action against the alien ship. Religious groups proclaimed everything from the end. Times to divine visitation. Stock markets crashed as investors feared the worst. Airlines reported massive booking surges as people tried to reach family members. Social media exploded with theories about who might be chosen and why. The uncertainty was driving humanity to the edge of hysteria. In the command center, communication specialists worked around the clock trying to re-establish contact with the alien vessel. Every frequency was tried. Every known method of communication was attempted. The aliens remained completely silent, as if they had said everything they needed to say. Amy focused on the one clue they had. The aliens claimed to have been watching humanity for 3,000 years. She pulled up historical databases, searching for any anomalies that might indicate alien observation. What she found made her blood run cold. "Ben, you need to see this," she called out urgently. Colonel Rodriguez hurried over to her workstation. Amy pulled up a series of images on her main screen. They showed ancient cave paintings, archaeological artifacts, and historical documents spanning thousands of years. "Look at this cave painting from France," Amy said, pointing to a section of the image. "It shows primitive humans, but in the background there are figures that don't match. They're too tall, too graceful. And see this blue coloring? It should have faded after all these years." Ben studied the image carefully. That could be anything. Ancient art wasn't always accurate. "Now look at this," Amy continued, bringing up another image. "This is from Egyptian hieroglyphs. Again, we see tall blue figures standing apart from humans, and this is from Mayan carvings. The same figures appear in completely different cultures, separated by thousands of miles and centuries. The pattern was unmistakable. Throughout human history, there were subtle signs of observers, figures that appeared in art and stories but never quite fit with human descriptions. Always tall, always graceful, always somehow separate from humanity." "There's more," Amy said, her voice growing more urgent. "I've been analyzing gaps in our technological development. There are points in history where human knowledge jumped forward in ways that don't make sense. The sudden development of agriculture, the leap to metalworking, the discovery of mathematics. Each time it happened simultaneously in different parts of the world with no contact between civilizations." Ben felt a chill as he understood what she was suggesting. "You think they've been guiding our development?" "Not guiding," Amy corrected. "Watching, recording, maybe occasionally nudging us in the right direction, but always from a distance, always hidden." The implications were staggering. If the aliens had been observing humanity for 3,000 years, they knew more about human history than humans did. They had watched civilizations rise and fall. They had seen humanity's greatest achievements and darkest moments. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison remained aboard the USS Horizon, maintaining a constant vigil over the alien vessel. His crew was exhausted but alert, monitoring every energy, reading and scanning frequency. The alien ship showed no signs of movement or activity, but Jake knew that could change at any moment. "Captain," Lieutenant Kevin Park called from his station, "I'm detecting some kind of scanning beam from the alien ship. It's very subtle, but it's definitely active." Jake moved to the sensor station. "What kind of scanning?" "I'm not sure, sir. It's unlike anything we've seen. The beam seems to be focused on Earth's surface, but it's not penetrating deep. It's more like they're looking for something specific." The realization hit Jake like a physical blow. They're looking for their chosen person? They know who they want, but they need to locate them. On Earth's surface, the search was already narrowing. The alien scanning beam moved across continents, pausing occasionally at specific locations. In major cities and small towns, it lingered over certain individuals before moving on. Whatever criteria the aliens were using, they were systematically evaluating the entire human population. Dr. Carter worked frantically to decode the pattern of the scans. "They're not looking randomly," she announced to the command center. "There's a specific methodology to their search. They're checking certain types of locations more thoroughly than others." "What types of locations?" Colonel Rodriguez asked. "Hospitals, fire stations, police departments, emergency services. Anywhere that people help others in crisis situations." The pattern was becoming clear. The aliens weren't looking for the smartest humans or the most powerful. They were looking for something else entirely. Something that had to do with how people responded to emergencies and helped others. As the fourth day ended, The alien scanning beam suddenly stopped. It had found what it was looking for. Somewhere on Earth, in a small town that no one had been paying attention to, lived the person who had caught the attention of beings who had been watching humanity for 3,000 years. The countdown had begun. In 3 days, the aliens would make their move. And humanity still had no idea what they really wanted, or why they had chosen this moment to reveal themselves after millennia of secret observation. Danny Walsh was fixing his breakfast when the helicopters arrived. The 28-year-old paramedic lived in a small house on the outskirts of Riverside, Kansas, a town of barely 3,000 people. He had worked a night shift at the local hospital and was looking forward to a quiet morning before his girlfriend Claire got off her nursing shift. The sound of military helicopters was unusual in their quiet farming community. Danny stepped outside to see what was happening and found himself face to face with news crews, military vehicles, and more people than Riverside had ever seen at one time. "Danny Walsh?" called a woman in a military uniform as she approached his front door. "I'm Colonel Rodriguez. We need to talk to you immediately." Danny stood in his doorway, confused and still wearing his work clothes from the hospital. "What's going on? Did something happen?" "Sir, we have reason to believe you may be in immediate danger. We need to get you to a secure location right away." Before Danny could respond, the crowd of reporters and military personnel suddenly went quiet. A shimmer appeared in the air above his small front yard, and then she was there. Zara, the alien woman from the news reports, materialized out of nowhere as if she had always been standing there. Danny had seen her on television like everyone else, but seeing her in person was completely different. She was tall and graceful, with blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the morning sunlight. Her silver eyes focused on him with an intensity that made him feel like she could see into his soul. "Danny Walsh of Riverside, Kansas," Zara said in her musical voice. "You are the one we have come for." The military personnel immediately raised their weapons, but Zara paid them no attention. She walked slowly toward Danny, her movements fluid and unhurried. The soldiers looked uncertain, unsure whether to fire on an apparently unarmed alien who had just appeared from nowhere. "Me?" Danny asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Why me?" "I don't understand what's happening." Zara stopped a few feet away from him. 3 days ago, you entered a collapsing building 17 times. You saved every person inside while the structure fell around you. You risked your life repeatedly for strangers. This was the final act we were waiting for. Danny's mind raced back to the tornado that had hit the neighboring town of Millfield. He had been driving home from work when the storm hit. The local school had been damaged, and he had heard there were people trapped inside. He had just done what felt right, going in again and again until everyone was safe. "I was just doing my job," Danny said. Any paramedic would have done the same thing. Zara's expression changed slightly, almost like she was smiling. "No, Danny Walsh, not every person would have continued when the building was collapsing. Not every person would have gone back 17 times. Not every person would have stayed until every life was saved." Dr. Carter and Captain Morrison arrived by helicopter just as Zara was speaking. They pushed through the crowd of military personnel and reporters desperate to understand what was happening. "Dr. Carter," Colonel Rodriguez called out. The alien appeared here directly. No ship, no warning. She just materialized. Amy stared at the scene in amazement. The alien woman stood calmly in a suburban yard, surrounded by armed soldiers, speaking to a confused young man in hospital scrubs. It was surreal and terrifying at the same time. "Zara," Captain Morrison called out. "We need to understand what you want with this man. You said you've been watching us for 3,000 years. What exactly have you been looking for?" Zara turned to face the captain without moving away from Danny. "We have been observers, Captain Morrison. We watch species as they develop. We look for specific traits that indicate readiness for advancement." "What kind of traits?" "Dr. Carter asked. "Intelligence is common in the galaxy," Zara replied. "Technology can be learned and shared. But what your species calls compassion, the willingness to sacrifice for others, the drive to help strangers even at personal cost, This is rare. Very rare. Danny found his voice again. You've been watching us for 3,000 years just to find people who help others? We have been watching your entire species, Danny Walsh. Throughout your history, we have recorded acts of exceptional selflessness. Individuals who chose to help others even when it meant personal danger or death. Your species has produced many such individuals. The crowd around them had grown larger. News crews from around the world were arriving. The story was being broadcast live across the planet. Everyone was watching as an alien being explained why she had chosen a small-town paramedic from Kansas. The tornado rescue was not your first such act, Zara continued. You have spent your entire adult life responding to emergencies. You have risked your safety countless times for strangers. But 3 days ago, you demonstrated something extraordinary. You continued saving lives even when the building was collapsing around you. Claire Thompson arrived at that moment, having heard the news at the hospital. She pushed through the crowd and ran to Danny's side. Danny, what's happening? Why are they here? Danny put his arm around her, still trying to process everything. I don't know, Claire. This alien woman says she's been watching me. Zara studied Claire with the same intense focus she had given Danny. You are important to him. He's important. To me too, Claire replied firmly. Whatever you want with him, the answer is no. The choice is not yours to make, Zara said gently, nor is it mine. Danny Walsh earned this selection through his actions. He has proven that your species possesses the trait we have been searching for. What trait? Danny asked. The willingness to sacrifice for others without expectation of reward. The instinct to help even when helping is dangerous. The ability to see the value in every life, even the lives of strangers. Dr. Carter stepped forward. You're talking about altruism, the scientific term for selfless behavior. Your scientific terms are inadequate, Zara replied. What Danny Walsh demonstrated goes beyond mere altruism. It is a fundamental recognition of the interconnectedness of all life. It is the foundation upon which advanced civilizations are built. The revelation was stunning. The aliens had been watching humanity for millennia, not looking for the smartest or strongest, but for those who would risk everything to help others. They had been conducting a test that humanity didn't know it was taking. What happens now? Danny asked. Now you must choose, Zara said. You can come with us willingly or you can refuse. But understand that your choice will determine not just your fate, but the fate of your entire species. The weight of the decision settled on Danny's shoulders like a physical burden. Everyone was watching him. The future of humanity somehow depended on what a small-town paramedic from Kansas decided to do. The world held its breath as Danny Walsh stood in his front yard, facing the most important decision in human history. News crews broadcast every word to billions of viewers. World leaders watched from emergency command centers, in living rooms, and public squares across the globe. People waited to see what the young paramedic would choose. Zara waited patiently, while Danny struggled with the weight of her revelation. The alien woman had explained that his choice would determine humanity's future, but she had not yet revealed what that future might hold. I need to understand what you're really asking, Danny said finally. You want me to go with you, but where? And for how long? What happens to me? Zara's silver eyes seemed to soften slightly. We are not conquerors, Danny Walsh. We are what you might call gardeners. We travel the galaxy seeking species that show potential for something greater. When we find them, we offer them a choice. Dr. Carter stepped closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. What kind of choice? The choice to join the Kelthani Empire, Zara replied. We are not a single species, but a coalition of worlds. Every member species has passed the same test your species is now taking. They have proven they possess the fundamental trait necessary for galactic civilization. Which is what exactly? Captain Morrison asked. The ability to put the welfare of others above personal gain. The willingness to sacrifice for strangers. The recognition that all intelligent life has value. Zara paused, looking directly at Danny. Your species calls it humanity, though you do not realize that this quality is rare in the universe. Danny felt Claire's hand tighten on his arm. His, parents had arrived and were standing nearby, their faces pale with worry. His entire life had been turned upside down in a matter of hours. What would happen if I go with you? He asked. You would travel to our central world, Zara explained. You would learn about the technologies and knowledge we have gathered from dozens of species. You would see what your world could become. And after 10 of your years, you would return to Earth with that knowledge. 10 years? Claire gasped. You want to take him away for 10 years? Time moves differently across the galaxy, Zara said gently. What feels like 10 years to you would be much longer for us. But yes, Danny Walsh would be away from Earth for that time. The crowd around them had grown even larger. Military vehicles surrounded the area. Government officials were arriving by helicopter every few minutes. The small town of Riverside had become the center of the world's attention. And if I refuse? Danny asked. For the first time, Zara's expression showed something that might have been sadness. Then your species will remain as it is. You will continue to develop on your own at your own pace. But you will not receive the guidance that could advance your civilization by centuries. That doesn't sound like much of a choice, Colonel Rodriguez said grimly. You're essentially blackmailing us? No, Zara replied firmly. We are offering you an opportunity. Many species never receive this chance. They either fail our test or never develop the necessary traits. Your species has succeeded where others have failed. Danny's mind was racing. He thought about his work as a paramedic, about all the people he had helped over the years. He thought about the tornado rescue that had somehow caught the attention of beings who had been watching humanity for 3,000 years. Why me specifically? He asked. There must be other people who have done similar things. There are, Zara confirmed. Many others throughout your history have demonstrated the same qualities. But you were the one who completed the final requirement. Your actions 3 days ago were the last piece of evidence we needed to confirm your species' readiness. Dr. Carter was frantically taking notes on everything, Zara said. You mentioned that other species have joined your empire. How many? 47 species have passed our test and joined us, Zara replied. Each one has contributed their unique knowledge and abilities to our collective understanding. Together, we have created technologies and achieved scientific breakthroughs that no single species could accomplish alone. And those that failed the test? Captain Morrison asked. They continue to exist as they always have. We do not interfere with species that are not ready for advancement. We simply observe and move on. The weight of the decision was crushing. Danny looked at Claire, at his parents, at the crowd of people who had gathered to watch. He thought about his quiet life in Riverside, his job at the hospital, his plans for the future. I need time to think, he said finally. Of course, Zara replied. You have until tomorrow at sunset. That was always the timeline we established. What happens if he says yes? Claire asked, tears in her eyes. What happens to those of us who love him? Zara's expression became even more gentle. Love is another trait we value highly. The bonds between individuals are sacred. Danny Walsh would return to you, Claire Thompson. He would bring with him knowledge that could transform your world. But 10 years, Claire whispered. That's so long. It is, Zara agreed. But consider what those 10 years could mean for your entire species. The medical advances alone could save millions of lives. The technological improvements could solve your energy problems and environmental challenges. The knowledge Danny Walsh would bring back could end poverty and disease on your world. The crowd around them was silent, absorbing the magnitude of what was being offered. One person's sacrifice could change the fate of humanity. But it was a sacrifice that had to be made freely by someone who had already proven their willingness to risk everything for others. I have one more question. Danny said, If I go with you, what guarantee do I have that you'll actually bring me back? How do I know this isn't some elaborate way of taking me prisoner? Zara reached into her robes and pulled out a small device that glowed with soft blue light. This is a communication device, she said, offering it to Danny. It will allow you to speak with anyone on Earth whenever you wish. You will never be cut off from your world or your loved ones. Danny took the device, feeling its warm surface against his palm. It was proof that the aliens had technology far beyond human understanding. But it was also proof that they were willing to allow him to maintain contact with home. I'll give you my answer tomorrow, he said finally. Zara nodded and turned to face the crowd. Tomorrow at sunset, Danny Walsh will make his choice. Until then, we will wait. She shimmered and disappeared, leaving behind only the echo of her words and the weight of an impossible decision. Danny Walsh did not sleep that night. He sat on his front porch with Claire, watching the alien ship hanging in the sky like a second moon. The media circus had moved to a respectful distance, but he could still see the glow of camera lights. In the darkness, the whole world was waiting for his decision. What are you thinking? Claire asked softly, her head resting on his shoulder. I keep thinking about Mrs. Patterson. Danny replied. Mrs. Patterson had been the last person he pulled from the collapsing school during the tornado. She was 83 years old and had been volunteering in the library when the building started falling apart. She looked at me when I carried her out and said, "Thank you," like I had given her the greatest gift in the world. Claire squeezed his hand. You did give her a gift. You gave her life. But what if I could give that gift to millions of people? What if the knowledge I could bring back could save thousands of Mrs. Pattersons? They sat in silence for a while, both understanding the weight of what he was considering. Danny's parents had spent hours trying to talk him out of going. His friends had called from around the country, begging him to stay. But deep in his heart, Danny already knew what he had to do. The next day passed slowly. Dr. Carter and Captain Morrison visited to discuss what they had learned about the Calthani Empire. Government officials offered him protection if he chose to refuse. Religious leaders came to pray with him. But nothing changed the fundamental reality of his choice. As the sun began to set, crowds gathered once again in Riverside. The entire town had come out to support their local hero. News crews from every major network were broadcasting live. World leaders watched from their emergency command centers. Knowing that history was about to be made, Danny stood in his front yard with Claire, his parents, and his closest friends. The alien communication device Zara had given him glowed softly in his pocket, a reminder of the connection he would maintain to Earth even across the vast distances of space. As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, Zara appeared again, in the same spot where she had materialized the day before. But this time she was not alone. Two other Calthani stood behind her, and with them were beings Danny had never seen before. Danny Walsh, Zara said in her musical voice. Have you made your choice? Danny took a deep breath and stepped forward. Before I answer, I have one more question. You said other people throughout history have shown the same qualities that caught your attention. What happened to them? Zara's silver eyes seemed to brighten. An excellent question. They made the same choice you are about to make. She gestured to the beings standing behind her, and Danny's breath caught in his throat. There were humans among them. Humans who looked exactly like people from different time periods throughout history. They were dressed in the flowing robes of the Calthani, but their faces were unmistakably human. Allow me to introduce some of your predecessors, Zara said. This is Marcus, who lived in Rome 2,000 years ago and died trying to save people from a burning building. This is Elena, who lived in Spain 800 years ago and spent her life caring for plague victims. This is Jonathan, who lived in London 300 years ago and devoted his life to helping the poor. Danny stared at the humans in amazement. They looked young and healthy, as if they had been preserved somehow across the centuries. Each of them stepped forward and nodded to him with understanding in their eyes. We have been waiting for you, Danny, Marcus said in perfect modern English. We have been preparing for the day when our species would be ready to join the galactic community. You're not the first human to make this choice, Elena added. You're just the one who completed the final test. The test that proved our entire species is ready. Danny felt the weight of revelation settling over him. How many of us are there? 47 humans have joined us over the past 3,000 years, Jonathan replied. We have been working together, learning, preparing for this moment. Each of us brought something unique to the collective knowledge we have gathered. Zara stepped forward again. Danny Walsh, your species has been contributing to the Kelthani Empire for millennia. Every human who chose to join us has helped guide other species toward the same realization your people have achieved. You will not be alone on your journey. Claire was crying now, but she managed to speak. He won't be the only human there. He will be among family, Zara assured her. And he will return to you with knowledge that will transform your world. The medical advances alone will extend human life by centuries. The technologies we will share will solve your environmental problems and provide unlimited clean energy. Denny looked at Claire, at his parents, at the crowd of people who had supported him throughout his life. Then he looked at the humans who had made the same choice across history, who had sacrificed their time with loved ones to help their entire species advance. I have to go, he said finally. Not because I want to leave you, but because I can't live with myself if I don't try to help. Claire threw her arms around him, sobbing. I know, I've always known you would choose to help others. It's who you are. Danny's parents embraced him, tears in their eyes but pride on their faces. His friends from the fire department and hospital shook his hand and promised to take care of Claire while he was gone. 10 years? Danny said to Claire. I'll come back to you in 10 years with everything we need to make the world better. I'll be waiting, she promised. Danny turned to Zara. I accept your offer. I choose to go with you. The alien woman smiled for the first time since Danny had met her. Then welcome to the Kelthani Empire, Danny Walsh of Earth. Your species has officially passed our test. Your world will never be the same. As Danny walked toward the alien shuttle with his human predecessors, he thought about all the people he would help when he returned. The knowledge he would bring back would save millions of lives and improve billions more. Mrs. Patterson and countless others like her would benefit from his sacrifice. The shuttle door closed behind him, and Danny began the greatest adventure in human history. He was not just representing himself, but his entire species. And for the first time since Zara had appeared in his yard, he felt completely certain he had made the right choice. Earth watched the alien ship disappear into the stars, carrying with it the hope for a better future for all humanity.